Hey everyone, Lelaine Art Geek here. Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to talk about my experience being a full-time artist for an entire year. And so I wanted to explain the challenges, the nice parts about it, and everything in between. Kind of just talking about how I feel overall about being a full-time artist for an entire year. So if you're into more of like a commentary video, or if you want to just hear my thoughts about how I feel during this entire year being an artist in general, then definitely continue watching, and I hope that you get something out of this video and learn about my experience and how, if you feel or think that this is the right fit for you. So one of the first things that I realized when I started becoming a full-time artist was that I don't have like a particular schedule that I must adhere to given by someone else or a boss. I'm able to create my own schedule. And for some people that sounds amazing. Like, you can wake up whenever you want, you can go to bed whenever you want, you can take breaks and everything, which is amazing. But unfortunately, if you are not disciplined, or if you don't have like an actual set schedule, then there's going to be times where you won't be productive, where you'll lose the ability to be productive sometimes. Being a full-time artist to me is having to establish a work schedule that not only is the most productive routine for each day, but will still leave room each day for personal needs and self-care. However, there were so many days where I would just be extremely productive one day, which is great, but the next day I'd be burnt out from the previous day that I would literally lay down and watch TV for hours, or go out somewhere and spend some time outside and not getting any work done. I'm not saying that doing these things are bad for you, because they're definitely not, but it's the constant burnout that I experience preventing me from fulfilling these tasks, and that can build up quickly. Fortunately, I'm not the only one going through this. I found that there are lots of classes on Skillshare that focus on productivity and how you can achieve a better work-life balance, and that's so important as a full-time artist. It is the largest online learning community for creatives wanting to try a new skill or dip their toes back into a skill they've wanted to learn again. There are so many amazing industry experts who are so passionate in sharing their knowledge about numerous kinds of creative topics, such as graphic design, illustration, photography, music, starting a business, and my current focus, productivity. If you're the type of learner that enjoys taking multiple classes catering towards the same topic, Learning Paths are perfect, since they're curated sequential class collections and you can truly focus on that specific skill. Through Skillshare's wide range of beginner and advanced classes, it's possible to learn something new in a matter of hours, no matter your skill level. Yes, that easily. Ever since I started taking Mike and Maddie's class called The Productivity Equation: Design a Balanced and Productive Lifestyle, I began looking into my own productivity habits and analyzing what's working for me and what needs to change. I've learned that even the most normal day-to-day activities affect your productivity and work schedule as an independent artist, such as getting enough sleep or dividing your time wisely. Us artists can get so carried away in our work that we truly do forget to take care of ourselves, thus altering our productivity habits in the long run. So I'm grateful that this class, along with other lifestyle-focused classes on Skillshare, have been amazing resources in my art career. It's the holiday season and the season for giving, so once again, I'm giving the first 500 fellow artists and supporters of my channel a 1-month free trial of Skillshare when you use my link in the description. Thank you so much again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and let's go ahead and get back to the video. So like I mentioned, when you're a full-time artist, it's pretty much essential to have a set work schedule for yourself and not let too many distractions interrupt your workflow. It was definitely really hard for me in the beginning to adhere to a schedule, especially since I started realizing that the dream of wanting to rely on my art to make a living was finally a reality. This was truly the first time I shifted my mindset into seeing my art as my entire financial support. So it took some time for me to adjust to the new lifestyle and develop an okay-ish work schedule. The schedule consists of following a typical 9 to 5, but it would be around 10 that I would actually start working on my art and any projects I needed to get done. I'd say 9 to 5 because I'd be awake before 9 to get any chores done, like around the house or something like that, and I would try to give myself about an hour to really get that done. Sometimes I'd continue working past 5 depending on how productive I am or how I feel that day, or if there's an upcoming deadline. Creating a set schedule and sticking to it was one of the multiple challenges I faced when transitioning to full-time art. And if I'm going to be honest, and I'm sure that most of you have heard this already, but being a full-time artist has been very rewarding and enjoyable, and I've learned so much running a small business, but it's also very exhausting, and there were moments where I felt intense anxiety and sometimes even depression during this journey. Which is funny because you would think that being a full-time artist is a dream, and it still is. I'm extremely grateful that I've had the opportunity to give this a shot for a full year, and I thank all of you guys for your support. But there's so much more to being a full-time artist than just drawing all day and selling your work. There's lots of bookkeeping, ordering and counting inventory, updating your websites and shops, social media, marketing, making videos, etc., all while making sure that you're still taking care of yourself and enjoying life outside of work, aka making art and running your business. But yeah, honestly, it's been a difficult first year as a full-time artist. However, it's normal because you're not supposed to have a perfect first year. In fact, you're not supposed to have a perfect career as a full-time artist, period. You're going to be experiencing mistakes, hardships, and lots of doubt. I don't want to say this for the purpose of scaring you away from doing this, but I also don't want to lie and say that it's all fun and rainbows when you're creating art full-time. It's important to be as realistic as possible while understanding that it takes so much work to do this. I know, and I'm sure that you know an artist or artists that are doing this full-time and are thriving. We witnessed their growth and success over the years, but in order for them to get there, they had to put in lots of work and time to nurture their craft, to nurture their business, and do extensive research. I, of course, can't speak on everyone's exact experiences, but it's common for small art businesses to struggle for a period of time first before seeing any kind of success in their definition. For me and my business specifically, it took about a year and a half of opening my online shop to get consistent orders, and by consistent, I mean about like 1 to 2 orders a week. I think the only time I had several orders in less than a week was when I had my spring cleaning sale earlier this year in March, which, by the way, thank you so much for the support because y'all helped me clear out my inventory and I really needed that. But later on this year, the orders went back to being about once a week, and there were months at a time where I wouldn't have a single order. However, this makes sense because I was focusing on cons and the type of content sort of changed on my social media, where I was doing drawing videos instead of small business related videos, so I wasn't advertising my shop as much. Plus, I think we can all agree that 2024 is a year full of uncertainty, so people try to spend their money wisely, which is very understanding. When you're a full-time artist, establishing multiple streams of income is pretty much necessary because your source of income can change each month. You might not have a convention scheduled in a given month, but your shop and YouTube channel are providing enough revenue to keep you afloat for that month. I'd say that for this year, conventions and markets have been my highest earning income, then following my online shop, and then my YouTube channel. I've also started doing brand deals for my YouTube, so on top of earning money from AdSense, I'm also earning from those deals. Going back to the fact that 2024 has been a year full of uncertainty, I noticed that the cons I've done this year were not earning as much for me as they did last year. I think the only con that was truly amazing money-wise this year was MegaCon, while every other con I've done was either okay or not good at all. I know in my vlogs I've tried to keep my optimism up because I do see each con as a learning experience, even when it's a con I've tabled at before. But when you're relying on doing conventions as one major source of income, it can get tiring and frustrating when you're not earning enough. It almost feels repetitive on how many cons I've done that weren't so great. Now granted, I've never flown to a convention or done many conventions out of state before, so this year I've only done one Georgia con and one North Carolina con, and that's about it. So when I eventually go to a con out of state that's more worth it, my opinion will probably change. But that doesn't change the fact that it can cost hundreds of dollars right off the bat before you even get to the con. Flights, hotel, food, table cost, table insurance, inventory restock, and so much more. This also applies to the cons I've done within Florida too, which is where I live. So no matter what, it genuinely costs so much upfront. But this is the reality of running a small business. You put in money before earning it. This past October marked 3 years of me vending at conventions, and honestly, I can't believe it either. Like, that's a pretty long time, but I've learned so much from those 3 years, all of the good, the bad, and the ugly parts of selling your art at these cons. I've actually had a good amount of moments telling myself, like, is this something I want to do for the rest of my life? AKA referring to tabling at conventions. And I know it's considered as one source of income, and it doesn't make up my entire income, but it's still something that you'll need to put lots of money down up front. However, aside from finances, tabling at cons have changed me not just as an artist, but as a person overall in the best way possible. I've met so many people who I'm extremely happy to call my friends. I networked with very, very talented artists and met so many of you guys that enjoy and support my work. I really don't know where I would be if I hadn't started, tabling at cons. And again, I'm so grateful. It's so hard because tabling at cons can be so much fun, especially when you're with friends, but you also have to be realistic and be honest with yourself if certain cons aren't doing well for you. So for me, I think for 2025, I'll really need to start being picky about the cons I go to and aim for the ones that is consistently worth it for me. But the thing is, it's also super competitive now, so you won't even know if you'll get accepted. So as a full-time artist, tabling at cons may be a higher source of income, but it's never a guarantee for each month. Pretty much, you're gambling if you'll be able to pay rent or not. And it's definitely something to consider if you'd want to do this line of work as a full-time artist. Now, in the topic of social media, it was sometime in July that I started shifting my content on both Instagram and TikTok to drawing reels and going back to sharing my original characters. It felt nostalgic because this was the type of content I made before I started doing Artist Alleys, and it was the original reason why I made my Instagram account over 10 years ago. Creating reels and TikTok videos have been a blessing because the algorithm at the time pushes reels more than pics or carousel posts, at least from what I've heard. So when I started making those, more people started to look at my work, and I've gained maybe over 50,000 followers from this year alone on Instagram. That is absolutely mind-blowing to think about, and I'll never stop being grateful for it. But even though my follower count has grown, engagement on social media is important too because you want the people who followed you to interact with your content. Those small actions lead to your content being pushed out more, therefore garnering more attention and growth. And then when you have a small art business, you'd want to convert your followers into paying customers too, which is way harder than it sounds. You need to be consistent in marketing as well if you want to be noticed online, meaning you'll have to put in hours at a time just for recording and editing your content. Doing this for an entire year was enjoyable because I have full control of my content, but it was also very difficult at the same time. This has added to my list of challenges during my first year as a full-time artist, but the outcome was always worth it after all of the hard work. And that's the thing. In general, you have to put in so much work to successfully have your art keep you afloat financially. That's primarily why in the beginning of the video, I mentioned about creating a productive work schedule, because that's how you'll start being a full-time artist and be able to handle so many different tasks. You'll start with the realization of how much time you have per day and utilize it strategically to get the work done. That would be your first step of self-employment, establishing that you are now your own boss. But regardless, if you have an amazing work schedule set for yourself, it'll always be hard, stressful work. This, of course, applies to any kind of job you work, but in my opinion, the pressure is even harder on full-time artists and even part-time artists with full-time creative jobs. Because of how much lower they're being paid compared to other jobs, negative opinions and overflowing doubt will always fill that air, unfortunately. And now with the introduction of AI, which if you guys want a whole separate video from me on that, please let me know, but it's stressful for absolutely anyone in the creative field. Spending an entire year to give this full-time artist journey a try was undoubtedly one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, but I don't regret it at all. I learned lots of valuable lessons about the hardships of running a small business, being self-employed, and everything in between while keeping the passion for making art alive. I absolutely plan to continue doing this in 2025 because I think 2024 was a trial run for what's to come. But that plan of continuing to be a full-time artist might not work out in the long run, and I would then have to resort to a full-time job outside of my art instead. And you know what? If it comes down to that, it comes down to that. There is absolutely no shame in having a full-time job outside of art and just leaving art as your hobby or side hustle. It's really hard for everyone right now to even get by, and we all completely understand. Sometimes when I'm at cons, I feel bad for selling my products with the prices I set for them. And I know that's silly to say, but it's true. I honestly just hope that everything in society will be better by 2025, or at least most things. But seriously, to those that have supported me not only in this first year as a full-time artist, but in the past and have continuously supported me, just know that the best gift I could ever receive this holiday season is your support on me, my art, and my journey. Buying something from me, watching and interacting with my content on Instagram and TikTok, watching my videos all mean the entire world. And I really just want to thank you for being here, for being with me no matter what throughout the year. And I hope that you'll stick around for what I have planned in 2025. I also hope that you got something from this video and began thinking if this path is the right path for you as an artist. No matter what you decide, you have my full support, and I wish you the absolute best. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.